Hey, this video has spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order, like literally stuff that happens in the last 5 minutes of the game. This is your warning. So important that I put it before the mouse click. Okay, anyway, you can click now. Wait, should it be Respawn or LucasArts? I mean, LucasArts plastered their logo everywhere, and honestly, how am I still doing this same intro contrivance for years? I mean, this intro part here where I click the Google Drive thing, Google Drive doesn't even look like that anymore. Google Docs is its own freaking thing. This is what it looks like now. Even worse, this is literally the exact same video file I used back when I started the series, when it was in 720p. This is upscaled. And what is this typing effect? It doesn't even look right. You know, there's an actual typewriter effect in After Effects now. I mean, this is what Matt's intro looks like. Why am I still doing this garbage with the deer whatever and the click and the... But by now it should be like, bam! Bokeh! Kapow! Avatar! The epic score rises in the background, a tear forms in your eyes, the hairs on your skin prickle up, and you realize that it's time to do some science! But honestly, at this point, I've been running an extended Pavlovian experiment on you, conditioning you to watch my videos when you hear the sound of the mouse click, so what are you gonna do? I love Fallen Order in particular. I like how they kinda sidestepped the power creep problem that was always kind of a problem in Star Wars video games. Instead of playing an OP teenager capable of tearing down Star Destroyers, in Fallen Order you play as Cal Kestis, a Padawan who survived Order 66, and you are not a god. Although by the end of the game you may have learned some fancy tricks, a wall run that Respawn is legally obligated to put into their games, and have made making stormtroopers pee their suits a normal day-to-day operation, except for this guy.
You don't scare me.
What legendary last words. After defeating my Hot Topic goth girlfriend in a one-on-one duel, you come face to face with Darth Vader, who really nails home how much of an amateur you are. Vader is on another level. Not only is he the literal, actual chosen one, he's been honing his skills against Jedi, rogue inquisitors, and hot groupies for years, while Cal's been working on a junkyard planet, listening to Mongolian rock music and going through puberty, surrounded by nothing but rust and aliens. You have no chance. Vader wrecks your stuff and gives no midichlorians about wasting time with parries and carefully dodged swipes. In fact, I learned while writing this episode and trying to get some extra footage that the dude will just pop off and snap your neck like it's nothing if you lollygag too long. Dude has absolutely zero chill about hunting Jedi. Your only recourse is to run away because, you know, that's what you do when you're a boy who's hoping to seal the deal with a Dathomiri witch in a sequel so she can restart the Night Sisters clan with strong stock, and you're being chased by a giant monster wielding a vasectomy lance. You get away, but not really, because of course you didn't, and it's all drama, climax, blah blah blah, and then Cal has the bright idea to break the walls of the hallway that you're in, letting water rush in and allowing him to escape, and you're only able to escape because behind you, Darth Vader is holding back the water rushing in with the Force like a mother effing badass. Sure, it's not as spectacular as like a ton of other displays of Force powers, but the more you start to think about all the things that are happening, the more you realize that this may actually be the most impressive canon display of the Force we have seen performed by any character anywhere, point blank, except for maybe hologram Luke's ability to ignore the limitations of the speed of light and the transmission of information. But honestly, Star Wars has pretty much no respect for Albert Einstein as a general rule, so, you know, sorry, buddy. But let's back up, because I can already hear you saying, pushing back water, Austin, really? That's what your video is about? And to that, I say, hell yes! Because with this, we can accurately measure the brute strength of Vader and suss out the limitations of his powers, just like Tarkin on Chandar's Folly. Oh yeah. That's right, I'm that kind of Star Wars nerd. But let's go over why this scene is so impressive to me, and why I think it's not only illuminating, but a fascinating math puzzle. This scene takes place on Fortress Inquisitorius, the headquarters of Emperor Palpatine's Jedi hunting experts, the Inquisitors. Fortress Inquisitorius is huge and built on the water moon Nur. Whatever. Most of it is underwater, deep underwater. How deep? We'll get there. Holding back this water takes all of Vader's concentration, which is why Cal and Seer are able to escape, so we can reasonably assume that pushing back this torrential flood of water is somewhere near the upper limit of Vader's capabilities, especially since he's been shown to have trouble holding back water on Mon Cala. This is hard to do for him, and honestly, probably very few others could even pull anything close to it off. But why is it so difficult? Simple. Water is very heavy. We don't usually think of water as being that big of a deal, but considering water is what makes up most of our mass, and as anybody who's ever been tasked with carrying jugs of water upstairs can attest, it is not light. Under normal gravity, water weighs almost exactly a kilogram per liter, and that can add up really quickly. What's worse is that the fluids under gravity exert pressure due to being pulled down by, the gravity. At sea level, our atmosphere exerts 101.3 kilopascals of pressure on our bodies because the weight of the entire atmosphere in a single column leading all the way up to the exosphere is pressing down on us. We are all little atlases carrying the sky on our shoulders all the time. Thankfully, air isn't very dense, and even a 10,000 kilometer column of the stuff really isn't that heavy. Meanwhile, you know how deep into the ocean you have to go in order to experience an increase of 1 atmosphere of pressure? 10 meters. That's it. Just 1/10,000% of the depth of the entire atmosphere into water, and the pressure rises a bunch. This is the power of water. Now look at how deep the freaking Fortress Inquisitorius is. Look at it! And Vader is just deadlifting this water like it's nothing. Now, this is the formula we need in order to figure out water pressure. It's delightfully simple compared to some other monsters we've used on this show. P equals H rho G, where P is pressure, H is height or depth, rho is density, and G is gravity. This will work for most fluids. Now, first things first. Before we can even start plugging numbers in, we need a ruler because we have some measurements to make. Y'all know the drill. Pixel measurements are the cornerstone that hold this entire YouTube channel together, and in order to do pixel measurements, you need a reliable ruler, and usually I have trouble finding one, but we have an easy one this time. Bam! Vader himself. He's right there, and he has a cannon height, 2.02 meters. Hey, Daddy.
They say there's something in the water.
Anyway, using Vader's height, we can reverse engineer Cal's height. Using this panel here and the BDSM torture dungeon for reference, we can determine Cal's model height to be about 1.77 meters. Now that we know his height, we can find our first number, gravity. Sure, we can assume the standard 9.8 we have on Earth, but where's the fun in that? This is a space opera. This is a different planet. Let's measure it. And figuring that these laser prison things are 3.75 meters tall, and knowing that Cal makes this 11.025 meter fall in 0.85 seconds, this gives us a wickedly strong gravity of 30.5 meters per second squared, 3 times Earth's gravity. Woohoo, doggy. Okay, let's pop that number into place. Density is an easy one. It's just the density of water, 997 kilograms per cubic meter. Now, depth. This one was tricky, and we'll circle back to it because we have one more thing to figure out. You see, this formula will give us pressure, which is fine, good, very helpful, but our pressure result will be in kilograms per square meter. That is a force over an area, and without an area, this gives us next to no insight into how much weight Vader is actually pushing back. We need to figure out the area of the front part of the water that he's shoving aside, and this is actually doable. It's this cross-section of the tunnel here filled with water. We're gonna simplify it just a little bit, but using these boxes as a reference and assuming that this thing is 2 isosceles trapezoids with bases of lengths 3.679 meters across the top plus 7.576 meters across the bottom, and a height 1 of 4.4 meters up to the top and a height 2 of 1 meter down to the bottom section, we can calculate their areas using the trapezoid area formula of 1/2 the sums of the bases times the height, and adding them together, bam! bam! We have 24.78 square meters. This is useful because we can actually use this tunnel to figure out how deep we are. Using Cheat Engine, we can enable the debug camera, and thank you so much for the work on that, Sunbeam. You are an actual lifesaver. Using the tunnel height, I can calculate how fast the camera moves straight up in debug mode, 10.568 meters per second. Then it's a simple issue of riding this camera from the tunnel here all the way up to the top of the water, which is... Okay, this is wrong because this angle is showing the fortress all the way underwater, but the cinematic shows a good chunk of it poking out above the water, so let's just assume that it's a developer shortcut since they never expected anybody to see this up close and just measure to that spot. And it took us 13.96 seconds to reach this spot exactly, giving us a depth of over 80 fathoms or 147 meters. You know what's really impressive about this? The deepest scuba dive on Earth was over 300 meters by Ahmad Gaber, and he experienced 324,383 kilograms per square meter of pressure. But it turns out that gravity makes a huge freaking difference. Under the 30.5 meters per second squared of gravity on Muir at a depth of 147 meters, the pressure is more like 4.5 million kilograms per square meter. And it's here where we get to finally plug this magic number into our calculator, hit enter, and hope that the world does not explode. And... NANI?! Vader is pushing 136.5 million kilograms away using the Force. You know what that equates to? The Titanic! Fully loaded with people and food and stuff. Actually, he wouldn't even break a sweat lifting the Titanic. Vader could deadlift the Titanic, Big Ben, the Washington Monument, 11 elephants, 50 grand pianos, 5 international space stations, and 10 fully fueled Antonov 255s at the same time, and still have enough Force strength left over to drink a cup of tea with the Force. Vader is a freaking beast. Do or do not, there is no try. Size means nothing. Freaking Yoda nearly had a heart attack lifting an X-Wing out of a swamp. Meanwhile, I'm reasonably certain Vader's over here making Starkiller look like an outclassed baby for struggling to just like barely push an Imperial Star Destroyer a little bit. This dude is strong in the Force in a legitimately terrifying way. Do not mess with Vader, and do not underestimate the power of water ever again. Sincerely, Austin.
They say there's something in the water.
Also, subscribe to the channel. You know it's not Banal. Oh, I stole that directly from Michael Swaim. He's a good boy. Anyway, subscribe to the channel.
Sabemos.